Hey, it's Liz from No Trace. In this video, I'm going to show you how to sew these adorable star-shaped ornaments. This is a really fun way to use up some of your tiny scraps of fabric, and these also make super thoughtful gifts. If you're looking for more scrap fabric project ideas, I do have another set of patterns in the description box below, so click the link to snag a free pattern for some more scrap fabric projects. And if you're looking for more fabric ornament ideas like these, I'm going to link to two other videos that I have. One is on heart-shaped ornaments, which I'll link to right here. And the other one is a Christmas tree ornament, which I will link to here. So check those out. And in this video, we'll go ahead and make these adorable stars. So let's go. In order to make a little star ornament like this, you're going to need several scraps of fabric. I have various shades of yellow, and I'm going to piece these together. I'm going to use a single piece of fabric as the back side of my star, so I have some options for that. And then I'm also going to be using a piece of cotton batting to give my star a little bit more structure. And I'm going to be using a little scrap of ribbon to create the loop for my star. You could use actual ribbon. You could make a ribbon out of scraps of fabric and a bias tape maker, which is what I did here. You could even use wrapping paper ribbon for this. You'll also need a star pattern that you can just draw on paper and cut out. You decide the size that you want to make. If you go much smaller than this, it might be a little bit harder to turn it right side out. This star pattern piece is, it's about 5.5 by 5.5 inches in size. And I would recommend, if you want a symmetrical star, that draw your star on paper and then fold it in half to cut it out so that you get more of a symmetrical pattern piece. And you don't really need points because you're not going to be able to get super sharp points. So I trimmed all the points on my pattern piece. In the very first step, I'm going to be piecing together my scraps of fabric to create one side of my star ornament. So I'm just going to be placing them with the right sides together and sewing them up with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once you have enough pieces of scraps that are pieced together to fit your star pattern piece, what you want to do next is take over to the iron. I'm going to go ahead and press open all these seams on the back so that they lay nice and flat. So now that my scrappy fabric has been ironed, I'm ready to put the right side of my scrappy fabric onto the right side of the other side of my star ornament. So these are right sides together, and just do your best to line them up nicely with one another. And then we're going to take our star pattern piece. I'm going to put it right on top of these two pieces of fabric and do my best to line it up so that it's going to get cut out nicely. And I'm going to go ahead and pin this in place. Now you could either trace this pattern and then cut it, or you could just cut it out holding this pattern in place, which is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hold this in place and cut the fabric to shape. All right, so my star is cut out of the fabric, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to save all of these smaller scraps, and they'll get repurposed into something also. And then if you have any teeny tiny scraps, we can put those inside the ornament as well. Now I'm going to take my 3-inch ribbon and I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to put it with the folded edge down in between the two layers of fabric at the top point of my star, whatever you decide that's going to be. And then just go ahead and pin that in place the best you can. It's a little bulky, so don't stress too much. You can always adjust it when you go to sew. And then we want to put our star on top of some batting. Now, if you don't have batting, you could totally skip the batting, but it will give the star a little bit of a softer, cozier look. And then I'm just going to pin this fabric right onto the batting. And then we are ready to sew. All right, so over at the machine, I'm going to be leaving this bottom part of the star open so that it's easier to turn the star right side out. So I'm going to start my stitches down near one of the, I guess you could call it like the leg of the star or the point of the star. And I'm going to do about a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. Now when I get near the loop, I want to make sure that I'm not sewing the loop on the side, that I'm only going to catch the loop here at the top. So just peek between your layers and then just take your time. And when you get near the top of your star, you want to reinforce the loop and go over it a few times. And then just keep going. Okay, so the star is sewn onto the batting, and now we'll just cut it out of the batting. Make sure to trim off the fabric near the points so that you can get a pointier point. And you also want to make sure to make little bitty snips here where the star bends in. Don't cut your stitches, but do make small cuts so that your star can lay a little bit more flat here at the little corners. And then we'll go ahead and turn it right side out through the opening that we left at the bottom. You're definitely going to need a chopstick or a pencil to get into the little star points. So take your time and do that gently. All right, so I've turned it right side out. And now what we need to do is iron the opening so that this part lays nice and flat, and then we can stitch it up. So this seam is a little bit fussy, so I put a pin in one side. I'm going to put a pin in the other side, but before we sew it, I am going to add all these teeny tiny little scraps to my little star ornament. So get those in there. You could also compost them if you're using all natural fibers, or you could save them and use them for stuffing for pillows or stuffed animals. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and pin this closed and stitch all the way around with a top stitch. Once you've top stitched and trimmed loose threads, your little star ornament is done. It's so adorable. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it inspires you to turn your small scraps of fabric into something beautiful and functional. And don't forget to snag my scrap fabric sewing project pattern in the description box if you want some more ideas on what to do with your smaller pieces of fabric. And please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the No Trees channel to get notified about our videos. We put out a new video every single week on zero waste sewing, crafting, and lifestyle tips. So I'll see you again very soon.